Greetings, brothers. Unless you've been under a rock, then you know the Balance Dataslate is here. Let's talk about some of the winners and losers, some of the things that we should probably give a try. And if you are just watching this and you haven't checked out my game from Wednesday this week, then probably after this video you want to check that out, because I'm experimenting with everything, probably going to be doing it in the next couple of weeks, try and figure out what is good at the new points costs. Looking at the stuff theoretically is all well and good, but trying it on the tabletop is something completely different. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks. But let's get into the winners and losers, and I got a lot to talk to you about today. So if we are just meeting, my name is John. Every week I will be here to tell you how to get the most out of your Blood Angels. So let's get straight on into it. So here are all the units for the Blood Angels that improved in this Balance Dataslate. We have Miston, we have the Death Company Dreadnought, we've got Death Company Intercessors, we got Sanguinary Guard, Assault Intercessors Jump Packs, Brutalis, Hellblasters, Incursors, Tactical Squads, Terminator Squads, both the Assault and the regular version in the Vindicator tank. I put the percentages that all these units change so you can get sort of a feel. A bunch of stuff went down 10%. I guess like a 6% drop is probably much more less impactful, but that's just the way that this worked. So every unit that I've put a star next to, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail, but if there's no star, for example, Death Company Intercessors, they're down 12%. I still can't see a reason to take these over regular Intercessors. Hellblasters down 8%. I think Hellblasters were semi-decent before. I think they're better for Dark Angels, but I guess maybe there's a play around them now. 115 points. It is 10, strength 8, -3, 2 damage plasmas. It's not terrible. You can fit them all in Impulsor and have the Impulsor be some sort of anti-plasma firing platform. Incursors are good if you run a lot of shooting units, because obviously if they hit an enemy, then you can get +1 to hit for the rest of the shooting phase. Tactical Squads, still don't see any reason to take them. Terminator Assault Squads are still in a really weird place in that they have a kind of a terrible ability and a really bad weapon skill. So even with a 5% drop, I don't think they're viable. I think the regular Terminators, with also a 5% drop, are possibly erring into the realms of viability. And then the Vindicator tank is a very good unit, down 8%. That's meaningful. This used to be 210 points. It was fieldable at 210. So Vindicator tanks, I guess if you've got 3 of these, maybe you're a happy man these days. I've got 2. And I just ran 2 on Wednesday night, so check that video out like I mentioned at the start. So what options does this give us? Let's bounce into some of those other units that was mentioned. Excuse me. So Miston, could he get some play now? So he's 100 points now. The Sanguinary Priest on foot is 90 points. I compared the two of them from a tactics video not too long ago. And if you look at the actual raw damage output against like Marines, Death Shroud Terminators, Beasts of Nurgle, and Land Fortresses, Miston and his 10 Assault Intercessors will actually slightly outdamage the Sanguinary Priest and their 10 Assault Intercessors. Yes. Miston does have Fight First, which is a cool ability. He does have a 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks. Could be useful if Thousand Suns and potentially Grey Knights are a little bit more prevalent these days. And his Transfixing Gaze is very good if you roll basically a 2-up. You basically on a 2-up, you worsen your enemy's weapon skill. It's important to note that this is weapon skill and not their 2-hit roll. And if you roll a 6, you worsen their weapon skill and their attacks. So Miston plus Assault Intercessors could be viable. Maybe a 5, maybe a 10, but they definitely look like they can do some damage now in the Sons of Sanguinius list. That's for sure. So Miston maybe becoming a little bit more viable than he was before. 100 points now. I think here's the difference, right? When the whole squad is dead and you've just got Miston left, or you've just got the Sanguinary Priest left, what is better? I feel like Miston's always going to be better than that singular Sanguinary Priest, but I guess the squad's going to live longer most of the time because of that 5-up Feel No Pain that the Sanguinary Priest implies just by being attached to the unit. Unless it's psychic attacks, then Miston is actually good. So could Miston get some play? Potentially. Tried him out just this Wednesday past. Right, what about Death Company Dreadnoughts? Did I click twice there? No, I'm good. Okay, so Death Company Dreadnoughts could be your answer to anti-armor. We know that then when they come in from reserve against monsters and vehicles, they get +2 to their charge roll. That gives you a 7-inch charge. Assuming you've got a CP, that's a 7-inch rerollable charge. That is a very high percent. In fact, that's an 81% chance to make that charge, which is very good. You can reroll the hits. You could potentially do some tank shocking. Obviously, you cannot fall back, and you have 0 OC, but I don't think you care too much about that. What you care about is each time the enemy unit targets this model, you can instantly attack back. So I think you have to equip the fists. So you're going to get 6 attacks at strength 14, because of the Sons of Sanguinius bonus. They're going to be -3, 3 damage, and assuming they can't kill the Death Company Dreadnought with their fight back, then he's going to attack again. So really he's going to get 12 attacks. Strength 14, -3, 3 damage. Rerolling all hits, because of Black Rage, rerolling all wounds. 145 points now. I think he's a missile, right? Like, think of him as a missile. Think of him not... Like, I wouldn't even worry about having... My good friend James, who's been on the channel, said that he is 3-0 with the new Sons of Sanguinius list, and he's running 2 Death Company Dreadnoughts, and he doesn't even have a chaplain in the list. So he's just using them in from Strategic Reserve, make 7-inch charges, fight, consolidate into other units if you can, fight again. They're just a missile that's trying to bounce from unit to unit to unit. I've done videos on this a few weeks ago, my tactics video that showed how to get the best out of the close combat phase. If you haven't watched that, he was included in this. He was decent at 165. What did he go down? Like 13%? I think he's decent now at 145. You're just going to have something else to back up and give you OC, because he's not going to be doing that for you. Jump Intercessors. These guys went down 5 points. So if you take them with a Sanguinary Priest, for example, you're going to get 50 attacks at strength 6, -2. And I guess they do a bunch of mortal wounds when they charge, right? Each time this unit ends a charge move, select one enemy within engagement range of it, then roll a d6 for each model in this unit that was within engagement range, and on a 4-up, they take mortal wounds. So I guess if they're with the priest, statistically, that's 5.5 mortal wounds, then 50 strength 6 -2 attacks. They also have a 5++. They're 260 points. I don't... Like, they went down in points while the priest went up in points, so nothing really changed here. I didn't really rate these guys, but I guess because their points are so cheap, I think if you had 30 of them, it would actually be valid to run 30 of them with 3 Sanguinary Priests. I think that would actually be quite good. I don't know why these guys are so good for... I don't know why they're only 80 points for what they do, but I actually think they're pretty good. So they're definitely an option. And what other options are we looking at? Well, the Vindicator tank continues to drop. Patch after patch after patch. It was 210, it was 190, it's now 175. 2 are fairly reliable, right? That's 2d6 plus 6 shots. Blast, strength 14 for 350 points. You got a couple of hunter-killer missiles on there as well for turn 1. So statistically in turn 1, if you are in range with both Vindicator tanks, bear in mind the hunter-killer is basically the exact same profile as the Demolisher Cannon, you're going to average somewhere like 8 strength 14 attacks. Now, from each one, so that's 16 total. Assume you use Oath or something like that, you're going to get like 14 hits at strength 14. It is very good. If you're using that combi weapon, Lieutenant, and you can put down the reroll ones on an objective or something like that, that could be very good as well. But I think the Vindicator tank, 175 points with T11 and 2-up save, continues to be a decent option. Very, very good in Gladius, but totally playable in Sons of Sanguinius. The Terminator squad's now at 175 points. They're getting close to where they were in 9th edition. We do get 20 strength 10 power fists, and if you use Oath on their target, they're both +1 to hit with Oaths. So basically what that means is, out of those 20 attacks, you're expecting to hit most of them. 19 should hit, I guess. Statistically, if you're hitting on a 2 with rerolls to hit, that's a 97% chance to hit. So yes, you should hit 19 times with those strength 10 power fists. So being that Terminators are probably one of our most durable units, and that they're toughness 5 and they've got a 4-up invuln, 2-up save as well, which can, in cover, can be very strong, right? Because if you're in cover, you can ignore one from the cover. If you play Armor of Contempt, you can ignore one as well. So potentially, when your Terminators are in cover, they need to hit you with 3 AP to make you save on a 3-up. 3 wounds a model, toughness 5. Maybe Terminator squads are decent again at 175. In fact, one person actually won a tournament probably like 3 months ago using them at 185. So they're probably not going to be the most better choice for Blood Angels. They are slow, but they are durable, and sometimes durability wins games. So I think the Terminator squad for 175 is sort of starting to get interesting. Unfortunately, the close combat Terminators just have a bad data sheet, so I guess you can't really run them. The Sanguinary Guard, they might be worth trying. A few people have said that they're trying them with a Captain or Dante. They're trying to use Armor of Contempt all the time for free to try and get them to save some CP. It would be really nice if we could operate these guys in squads of 7. That's what we always used to run them in. I kind of think that we're in an awkward place, right? Because 5 feels like too little, 10 feels like too many. So we got to make do with what we want. I tried them out on Wednesday night, so check out Wednesday night's battle report to see how 10 of them plus Dante rapid ingressing did. And I'm going to run them for a few more weeks just to try and work out strengths and weaknesses. And I never really follow or chase the meta very hard. I can tell you at the end of this video, I suppose I'll tell you exactly why some of the nerfs have happened, and I'll tell you why they were still meta. And I think some of the meta choices are still very strong. So next we go into the section of why GWY. And this is for the models that are totally crap. It is Assault Terminators. You get 1 more wound and you get dev wounds. But realistically, you only get 10 hits because you get 20 attacks on WS 4 up. So you get 10 attacks. So how is 10 attacks on dev wounds against statistically, you probably only roll a couple of 6s. So you're going to do 4 damage. So how is that worth more than 20 almost always hitting attacks? And like basically like a crappy battle shock ability in a meta when 2 damage weapons are so prevalent. Like these guys have that extra wound, but 2 damage weapons are so prevalent. So like 3 wounds on the regular Terminators feel fine. I think if Assault Terminators were 175 compared to the normal Terminators, I still wouldn't take them. I think at 165, maybe might be thinking about taking them for durability, but like 150, their Thunderhammers should not be WS4 when they only have 3 attacks base. It's really bad. Tactical squads, they cost 5 more points for scouts, but you have to take them in 10 models, so there's a huge disadvantage. You do have 1 better save and 1 better OC than scouts and a couple of special weapons, but I guess if you combat squad them, then 1 squad has none of the special stuff. If you want OC, there's better options. If you want scoring, there's better options. If both for primary and secondary. I've been playing this game. I came back at the start of the 8th edition now, so arguably I'm just coming up to about 7 years back in the hobby. I've not seen a single tactical squad on the tabletop. I have no idea why these guys exist. They are not competitive. They're not competitive at 140 points. I actually don't even know if they're competitive at like 120 points. I think they're objectively worse than scouts. The points drop on these guys is completely irrelevant. So let's talk about nerfed units / losers. You know what? I've said that. Someone's going to come along and say that they won a tournament with like 5 tactical squads. If you did, well done. I think they're absolutely trash. Okay, nerfed units. Death Company Marines up 8%. Death Company Marines jump backs up 7%. Lamarte's up 9%. The Priests both up over 10%. That's pretty hefty. The Eliminators are up 13%, and the Storm Raven gunships are up 8%. So this is a targeted nerf at everything that was good in the Space Marine Codex. I don't think Space Marine win rates necessarily deserve this, but this is what this is. It's a targeted nerf. Death Company Marines on foot were amazing because you would put 10 of them in a Rhino. You come out the Rhino. Potentially you can attach a character to get advance and charge, but you don't even really need to. You just come out the Rhino and charge. And the thing that was amazing with these guys, if they fight on death, then you fight the strength of the unit is when it dies. So if the enemy wiped these guys, then they get full rerolls to hit and they had sustain 2. So these guys in a Rhino were kind of insanity. They could charge anything they want because even if the opponent had fight first, they just fight on death and still wipe them. Death Company Marines with a jump pack and Lamartes are very strong at damage output. That's 40 attacks with reroll all hits, lethals built in. However, it's now 400 points. And there is some armies that will kill this very, very quickly. I looked back at one of my battle reports and saw that like I got the whole squad killed by like 15 Kabalite Warriors and 3 Venoms in a single round of shooting when I was in cover. So that's like 300 points of Drukhari shooting can kill that whole squad in a single round of shooting. That's a 400 point unit dead to 300 points of enemy units in 1 round of shooting. That's scary to me to field that squad. That squad needs to always be in cover. And it needs to basically always be obscured. Does a lot of damage, but the second the enemy get a bead on it, pretty much every enemy you play against knows how deadly the Death Company are. They'll focus it down. Same as every enemy you know, focus down your Sanguinary Guard. These guys are only T4 Marines, same as the Sanguinary Guard. They do die hella quick when focused. I think that potentially the Lamartez one is a nerf that was not needed. I don't think this was the problem. I think the problem was the Death Company Marines on foot. I think the only person that won a GT recently that we looked at was a guy who was running 20 Death Company Marines on foot, and it makes sense because the Death Company Marines on foot, whenever they start losing units, become exponentially stronger. And there was a caveat in there where, like, if you have plasma pistols on every Death Company Marine and you overcharge them all and you actually kill one of your own guys, then you actually get more sustained hits. So it's actually beneficial to have everybody overcharging the plasmas, hoping that you fail one. The second one guy dies, the whole squad gets sustained hits one, and that's actually going to statistically give you more hits. So these guys at the top maybe need a nerf. Not so sure about these ones, but that's what's happened. The Sanguinary Priests also got a nerf. They are a very strong unit. They are the only unit that will give us more AP. And they do have a 5-up Feel No Pain. I'm just not convinced that they're a stat stick, right? Like, they just give stats. I'm just not convinced that 100 points feels fair. Because statistically, a 5-up Feel No Pain is going to give a squad, like, what, 5 or 6 more wounds? It's like a third. So if you're attaching it to a 10-man unit, potentially a third of 20 wounds, because a third of the time you would feel no pain, right, on a 5-up, is 6 more wounds. So 6 more wounds and 1 more AP for 100 points. I guess the priest gets some chainsword attacks. I guess possibly this is balanced, I guess. But honestly, having played it a few times, I guess unless you're running this in like the totally meta choice, which I guess is 10 Jump Assault Intercessors with jump packs and a Sanguinary Priest, and maybe unless you're spamming that, I think this is going to nerf all the normal players that are only playing like a couple of units or 1 unit with a Sanguinary Priest. This hurts them. I guess there's a couple of options in the meta that are really, really strong. And I guess this is what I don't like, right? These targeted nerfs against things in the meta while not providing very many other options, right? And I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in this video. Hopefully this video is reasonably positive, but I know that part of it is going to be quite ranty. Okay, we got Eliminators. They went up 10 points because I think it was Black Templars or Dark Angels, not entirely sure, were able to use some shenanigans to shoot the Eliminators twice. They were like starting them out of a transport, shooting, use their bonus move to move inside the transport, then shoot again. So they went up 10 points. I feel like that would have been better just fixed on their datasheet. But points changes are what we got right now. And then the Stormraven Gunship went up 8%. No one in the Blood Angels army was fielding a gunship. I think it was Dark Angels were running like 2 of them, and they were very strong, and I think they won a GT. And I guess this is one of the problems with us all sharing these units across multiple detachments. Remember, the Stormraven originally was a Blood Angels unit, right? Like, it first came out, it was a Blood Angels exclusive unit. We have to pay a 8% tax because another detachment is getting a lot of benefit out of it. For Blood Angels, Stormravens kind of suck, honestly. You couldn't really fill them at 240 points. I think you really can't fill them at 260 points. They're the same points as a Redeemer. I think the Redeemer is a much better option. So yes, if you are enjoying this so far, then please consider liking or subscribing. I am here every week, and I'll be doing very many. I'll be doing a lot more content on the new points costs and the future, and I'm actually wanting to make a video about the units that have been overlooked for the Balance Dataslate for like the 3rd time, because we've got a lot of units in the Space Marine Codex. They cut a bunch of units at the start of the edition and said it's too many units to balance, but we've got lots of units that get literally no play. We've got detachments that actually get no play as well competitively. So we've got detachments that get no play, we've got units that get no play, and they just get ignored balanced dataslate after dataslate. So I'm going to make a video about them. It'll probably be like a bonus video. It won't be a weekly video, but I'm going to make it because it's getting... I guess I need to ask, like, I'm asking the question, are balanced dataslates a good thing if units that are uncompetitive at the start of the edition, 9 months on, are still uncompetitive? The Sangre Guard are a good example. They only just came down in points. They have been uncompetitive since day one of 10th edition. That was like June last year. I'm filming this basically the end of April, so this video will be out at the start of May. So Sangre Guard have been uncompetitive for 11 months. I'm pretty sure they're probably still not super competitive at the points costs. I've only played them once. I'm going to play them a few more times, but we have other units that haven't even had points costs. They've just been uncompetitive now for a year. This happened in 9th edition too, right? Don't get me wrong, this happened last edition. We have a lot of units uncompetitive for the entire edition, and my question is, are Balance Dataslates working? Because for me, as someone who buys everything, right? Like I've spoken at length on this channel how I literally have every single Primaris unit. I think I'm lying. I don't have the Mario Kart buggy, whatever that's called, the Impulsor ATV. Oh, and I don't have a tactical warsuit. Hey, money doesn't grow on trees, guys. I have a lot. I usually try and buy all the new stuff, right? That's kind of my MO, is like, hey, a new Space Marine unit comes out. Is it good for Blood Angels? I don't really care. It's a new Space Marine. I will buy it. So I buy just about everything. And I also don't go super hard into the meta choices, right? Because I don't like maybe painting 30 of the same Marines. I like doing my own thing. I like making my own lists. I don't really run anything too meta. Sometimes I might take 2 of a unit, but I don't think... A good example is like a lot of Blood Angels players would take 3 squads of Sangre Guard. That was sort of... There was a period in 9th edition where 3 squads of Sangre Guard, 3 squads of Death Company. I think you could get fit 2 squads of Assault Intercessors. That was the best Blood Angels list. I never run it because I like to run lots of different things and I like to have fun. I like to be competitive, but I don't like to be like super honed in and super meta. That isn't fun for me. Like I like building an army like I'm a real general, I guess, not like just being like, these are my best 3 units, that's only 3 units I'm going to run. So I want to ask the question, are Balance Dataslates working? If they're just going to target nerf the good units and target some of the other units, but ignore 80 other data sheets completely, like... That video is coming, so stay tuned for that. If you like this, great, subscribe. If you hated what I just said, feel free to ignore it, or you can unsubscribe if you want. I think you guys know me. You know I like to be positive. But yeah, my standpoint is I would like more variety in the game. I think I only play 1 army, so more variety would be better. I would play more armies. I just don't have the time, right? So... what hurts in this edition? All the Death Company going up in points. I think I've said probably a bunch of this already. They said in their MetaWatch article that this was to represent the free war gear, which I thought was kind of the point of 9th edition, but Lamartas went up 8%, so they're up to 400 points for that Death Company now. And like I said, I lost the whole squad in cover with a -1 damage in 1 round of shooting to like 350 points of Drukhari. So this squad was vulnerable at 370 points. It's very vulnerable at 400 points. It's so much to lose. And I think that's one of the things that I'm struggling with the most, is like, if you take that 10-man unit, it's a giant unit, it's hard to hide, so many eggs in one basket, you really need like a really high-level skill to play that, or you really need to be playing like on GW terrain, or terrain that really works for obscuring 10 models for basically the whole game. I don't play in that terrain. We play in UKTC terrain, and quite often it's very easy for your whole unit to get killed in a turn. So I'm not even sure if I'm playing these guys right. So as someone who plays Blood Angels every single week for the last 7 years, and focuses all my energy on trying to be the best Blood Angels player and know everything off the top of my head and be able to do the maths on the fly as I play games, I don't know if I can play these guys well enough. And they're now up from 370 to 400 points. Both Sangre Priest increases is pretty massive. The 5-up Feel No Pain is good. The AP is good. But they are really just a stat stick. I do feel like he is needed, though. If you want to run Jump Assault Intercessors or Vanguard Veterans, I feel like he is needed because they have very low AP. Just AP 1. And if your opponent has any strat in their arsenal, like Armor of Contempt, that's very prevalent in the meta, reduce AP by 1, then you're going to have a very bad day with those Jump Intercessors or Vanguard Veterans. I really hope the Sons of Sanguinius Detachments or the Blood Angels Codex brings some way of getting more EP, because at the moment, I feel like we're so reliant on that, and the points hike on it is pretty grim, I guess. I actually wanted to just talk a little bit about the historical win rate of 10th edition Blood Angels, because this is where we are. We have been damn near the bottom in August. We are here in November, and we've dropped down a little bit in January. Apparently, we have crept back up. But, yeah, I just want to... We were exactly the same all of 9th edition. We were bringing up the bottom for all of 9th edition. We are again bringing up the bottom for all of 10th edition. As a single army, as a player who plays a single army, and has been doing it for like 6 or 7 years, it's pretty frustrating. I'm waiting for the Balance Dataslate where we get told that we have a 50% win rate. But here's the thing. All the Blood Angels lists that win events are skew lists, right? Like I said, like 7 Death Company units with all those fight on death, sustained hit 2 Death Companies, right? But all these skew lists that win events make Games Workshop think Blood Angels are fine, but as regular guys who aren't running these skew things, maybe don't want to invest in those skew things, maybe would rather do what I would do and buy all the new models. Like, I like running Blade Guard. I probably run more Blade Guard on, like, Repulsors. Trying to think what else. Gladiators. Aggressors. Eradicators. I probably run all these new units more than all these old players. But, yeah. We set 45% win rate. It's rough. So, just to prove it, I went back and grabbed a couple of the MetaWatch articles. And you can see here, what was it? 45, 47, 41. So our 47 has been our highest win rate yet in 10th edition. If we go back to 9th, it gets worse. We were 45 in 2023. 2022, we were 48. I guess that's been our highest. The US Open in 2021, because they did MetaWatch much less frequently. I did check this was 45. And then the first MetaWatch article I found all the way back to 2020 was also, can't find us, 44. So 48 was our best last edition, down to 44. This edition, it's 47 down to 45. We haven't had a 50% win rate over 4 years at this point, since they started MetaWatch, actually. So this was about the same time we became Codex compliant, right? Because before 9th edition, we used to have our own Codex with our own unique choices, and we couldn't take everything in the Space Marine Codex. So, it brings me back to, like, since we've become Codex compliant, you think that that's made it too difficult for them to balance us, right? Because, like, I think I said you'd be hard pushed to find another army with the 40% win rate for the whole same period. Like, we're probably, someone find it, someone put it in the comments. What other armies have never hit 50% since they started MetaWatch? Someone will do that for me, right? But apparently we haven't. So yeah, durability in the army is something that I keep struggling with, right? Like, I keep struggling with it. I find Toughness 4 Marines so hard to play. The terrain that I guess we play on here in the UK makes it hard to play those Toughness 4 Marines. I feel like when I was playing Gladius, I was doing pretty well, running a boatload of Gravis. But I desperately want to make the Sons of Sanguinius work, because I enjoy playing melee armies more, right? Like, I think I had a, like, 71% win rate on Gladius over, like, 25 games. So I had a really decent win rate on Gladius. But when you're playing Gladius, you're playing a shooting list with a tiny little sprinkle of melee on the top. And the amount of comments that I get on, if I put that content on the channel, all I hear, every single comment is like, you're not even playing Blood Angels, right? Like, it's constant. You guys know it. And it wears you down, right? Like, if every time you open up your phone to look at your YouTube channel, which probably for me is like 3 times a day or something, it's just like, you're not even a Blood Angels list. That's not even Blood Angels, you know, like, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's got some Blood Angels units. My best Gladius list had both Death Company, and I'm sure I had something else. Maybe there's only one other unique Blood Angels thing in the list. But it was hard, right? It was hard. Oh, Librarian Dreadnought, right? So that was it. Death Company, Library, and Dreadnought. That was the only two things that really lived in my Gladius list. Everything else was Gravis, everything else was tanks, and it was a decent list and it won a lot of games, but you're sprinkling on that tiny little bit of melee, and it's not really what I signed up for. It's not really as fun as playing a melee army. But the flip side of the coin is the melee army is ridiculously hard to play unless you have exactly the right terrain. So yeah, over the next few weeks, I need some favours from you, the community. If anyone wins a GT or even comes close with the new Blood Angel stuff or the points costs, can you please send it to me? I guess I will review your list if it's like 7 units of Death Company, but we already know that's strong, right? And I'm not going to play 30 Death Company and Rhinos with Death Company Dreads coming out the Yazoo or whatnot. Like, I would like to play some of the models that I've bought recently as opposed to like 2nd edition Death Company Marines that I bought 20 years ago, right? Like, and I think that's my biggest problem at the moment with 40k and with Blood Angels and our current codex and the current Space Marine codex. I think the Space Marine codex has its own problems, and I will make that video about all the units in the Space Marine codex that seem to just be left on the sidelines edition after edition. No one's taking them in competitive play. They're not getting any improvements in the balance data slate. They're not getting any real changes in I can't remember what the thing that they call when they actually change some of the rules is called, but you know what I'm talking about. They do points every 6 months. Maybe it's just when they do some rule changes, the balance data slate. So I'll make that other video. I'll continue to try and fight the good fight with Sons of Sanguinius. I literally have almost 2 months to the day to the next GT I'm going to. So I guess I've got 1 month to figure out if I feel Sons of Sanguinius are good, and if not, because I'd like to actually do somewhat decently at the GT, maybe we have to go back to the Gravis Angels for a month and get some practice. And I think my last Gravis Angels list would actually just have come down because nothing in that list really went up and the Vindicator tanks came down 30 points. So maybe there is a variant on my last Gravis list that could actually do pretty well. But in the interim, please like, subscribe, consider supporting me here on YouTube or over on Patreon. I would appreciate it. Thank you so much for... excuse me, I've been getting tongue-tied all night. Thank you so much for getting to the end of the video, guys. I hope some of this was useful. I am really struggling to put an overly positive spin on this. The issue being that they keep attacking the units that are holding everything else up. Because somebody, I guess, is building these SKU lists. Which is fine, but bring some of the other options into play for us. I don't know where to go from here. I'll keep fighting. I'm testing things out. Join me in the weekly battle report. And maybe next week, if something has done really well, I'll make a tactics video on it. Or if there's some maths you guys want to see for a future video, leave a comment down below and we can try and dive into that. Survivability, points per head, anything like that. I'll make anything that's needed for the community. Okay, we'll catch you next week. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.